When my daughter was in infant school, there was this little boy, right? Now, I can't say his real name because his real name, I've never met anyone with this name. I'm pretty sure he is the only one in the whole country, if not the whole world, that has this name. So I'm not going to say his real name, but I'm going to say his name was Damage. Because his name meant damage. Like, think of another word for damage or destroy. And that's what his name was. So I'm going to call him Damage. And he lived up to his namesake because he used to damage everything, including the kids. Now, the issue I had, my daughter used to come home with Chinese burns. One time she came home with bite marks. Now, the problem was this kid's like, what? My daughter was in year 2, right? So I think she's like 6. I think you're 6. Now, to be fair, this boy used to hurt every kid. He didn't single out my child. He would hurt all the children. And he had been in a different class and then they'd moved him to my daughter's class because the other kids in the class couldn't take it anymore. And the problem is, you know when it's like, when they're at an age, like, I didn't know if this child maybe had behavioural issues, because that's a whole different thing. There's a big difference between a child who is just mean to other kids for the sake of it and then who have actual behavioural issues. But the thing is, this boy taught my child the word bitch. He taught my 6-year-old the word bitch. And my daughter came home and was like, I heard a swear word today. And I was like, what's the swear word? So she said bitch, and she actually whispered it because she was so innocent. She was like, he said the word bitch. And I was like, listen, don't repeat that word. Well, of course, the next day she repeated it. So then I got the school ringing me. Now, obviously, they said they wanted to give my daughter like a sanction because of it. Like, they weren't giving detentions then. They would send like a child out of class for an hour. That was the punishment. And I was like, listen, I told her not to repeat the word. She's repeated it. So fine, give her the sanction. You need to know where she learnt it from. So I snitched on the little boy, but here's where it gets worse. When she came home with Chinese burns and scratch marks on her, obviously I rang the school and I was like, can I have the parents' details? Because I don't think you guys are doing anything about it. They wouldn't give me the parents' details. Because I was working, my daughter was in after school club, so I wouldn't pick her up at regular time. Like, I wasn't one of the mums that was like standing in the playground waiting for their kids. And I wish I was, because I missed out on so many mummy friends. But I couldn't do that, so I never saw this boy. And then one day I was like, I need to find out who these kids' parents are. I need to talk to them, because my daughter came home with bite marks. Turns out he had a childminder, so I couldn't get hold of the parents. Anyway, one day my daughter got invited to a birthday party of one of the other kids in her class, and all the kids, you know, in like infant school, all the kids get invited. It's not like, you know, in high school or even like junior school where they might only invite 5 or 6 kids. In infant school, all the kids would get invited. So my daughter got invited to this birthday party, so off we went. I don't like kids' birthday parties. The only kid birthday party I like is when you can leave your kid there and leave. I hate screaming kids. But anyway, this was one of those parties, because of the age, you had to stay there. So my daughter was playing at this party. It was in like a church hall. It was really nice. It was a really fun party. And I'm just sitting with the other parents and sort of talking to them. And I got talking to this one woman and she was so nice. I'd never seen her before, and I barely saw any of the mums because of the whole like picking her up from after school club. Didn't really run into many of the other mums. But this woman was so lovely. We had the best 45-minute chat. I'm thinking this woman can be my new best friend. So we're chatting for 45 minutes and it's only went, right, she's so nice, and we're chatting for 45 minutes. And it's only when the party's wrapping up that I realised I don't even know which child is hers. Like, there's 30 kids running around. I don't know which one's hers. So I asked her, oh, which child's yours? Yeah, it was Damage, weren't it? Of course it was, because of course it was. Now I'm sitting there like, oh my God, a minute ago you were my bestie, but now I kind of hate you, but now I don't know. Because the whole bitch thing, I was like, where did that come from? Like, he must have heard it from somewhere. It's not like now, like if my daughter learns a swear word now, I can just assume it's one of her mates or if it's TikTok. But you know, when they're that age, you think it must be like a parent or another adult they're around. So now I'm sitting here like, oh my God, you're really nice, but I kind of hate your son because he bites my child. But then, because me and her had such a nice chat, I didn't then want to turn to her and be like, by the way, your son's a dickhead. Because I didn't know if she knew. Like, I didn't know, again, I don't know if this child had behavioural problems. You know, it's one of those things where it's like, you can feel for someone. Like, I feel for every child that has behavioural problems, but at the same time, I don't want my daughter to come home with bite marks. Do you know what I mean? It's really difficult. Anyway, I ended up not saying anything. And I'm glad I didn't say anything. But it was really disheartening because she had been talking. When we were talking for 45 minutes, she was like, let's do play dates. And then once I found out she was Damage's mum, I was like, oh, my daughter's not coming to your house. We're not doing a play date. That's the story. That's my story.